universe is made up of approximately 5% visible light, 25% dark matter, and 70% dark energy. The electromagnetic spectrum is a range of wavelengths or frequencies over which electromagnetic radiation extends. Our visual reality is contained in visible light. Our main source of visible light is our sun. This produces white light, which contains every color of the spectrum. When we turn on a light, or when it's daytime outside, visible light is all around us in the form of waves. However, we cannot see it as our brain decodes it as colors. You're able to see it by shining a light on a black reflective surface, such as a turned off TV. When you turn a light on in a room, the light bulb emits electromagnetic radiation in the form of wavelengths known as colors. Imagine yourself in a pitch black room. The only object in this room is a fridge. In darkness, the fridge remains on the molecular and atomic level of the electromagnetic spectrum. These are particles which vibrate, determining the shape of an object. When you turn the light on, visible light is emitted, which is then absorbed by objects in the room. For example, if the fridge was blue, it would absorb the blue wavelength of color, making it appear blue. This color is then reflected off the object and gets picked up by light receptors in our eyes. These light receptors are known as rods and cones. The rods help us with night vision, while the cones respond to red, green, and blue. As humans, our eyes can only detect red, green, and blue. Combining these colors creates the additional colors of the spectrum, making us able to see in multicolor. All objects in the room work this way, including the floor and walls. Light also affects our brainwave patterns. Brainwaves are electrical impulses in the brain. While awake and in problem solving and alert consciousness, we operate on the beta brainwave. As we drift off into sleep, we enter into the theta brainwave state, and during deep sleep, we enter the delta brainwave state. In darkness, a gland in the brain known as the pineal gland releases a hormone called melatonin. This hormone is known as a darkness hormone as it is only released in darkness, and bright light inhibits the production of it. Melatonin tells our body and brain that it's time to sleep, causing us to feel tired. Before man discovered fire and before the invention of artificial lighting, we lived in two realities, the conscious and unconscious. We still live in these realities today, but due to artificial lighting, we spend less time in the unconscious. If right now you was to turn the light off and sit there in complete darkness, you'd go from beta to alpha, then eventually to theta and delta once you fall asleep. In ancient Greece, they called the delta brainwave hypnos. It was also known as sleep. They said it was a plane of consciousness containing rivers of forgetfulness and hypnotic plants. When we sleep, we enter REM. These are stages during sleep known as rapid eye movement. During this time, our eyes move rapidly, and depending on what stage we're in, will depend on when we dream. Brainwaves change depending on what state we're in. During REM sleep, our pineal gland releases a chemical known as DMT. This is a neurotransmitter which makes us dream. It is also known as the spirit molecule, as it's found in almost every living thing including humans, mammals, and plants. It's a naturally occurring chemical in the body and is produced by the brain, liver, and lungs. DMT when synthesized can be smoked. People who have smoked it have described incredible and terrifying experiences. The most common entities in the realm of spirit are clockwork elves, aliens, reptiles, female spirits, and lost loved ones. DMT is the most potent psychedelic in the world and is known as the link between worlds. People have described these entities telling them that this was the same place you go to after you die.
I looked at Chris and I said, they told me that if I wanted to stay there with them, then I have to die.
As DMT is in almost every living thing such as plants, our stomach has developed a defense mechanism so we do not hallucinate while consuming it. A compound in our stomach called monoamine oxidase breaks down the DMT. However, indigenous people of the Amazon figured out a way to make DMT active orally. They done this by combining plants that were monoamine oxidase inhibitors with plants carrying DMT. Therefore, this allowed the DMT to become orally active. They use this method to create a brew known as ayahuasca. It's used in religious and healing ceremonies throughout Peru and around the world. Ayahuasca is also known as the vine of the dead. DMT is released in the brain when we dream and in large amounts when we die. In ancient Greece, they spoke of planes of consciousness above dreams and into the realm of the unseen. They knew this as Hades or the underworld. Many ancient societies claim the universe was split into two worlds, the visible waking reality we live in and the darkness known as the underworld or the inner world. In ancient Greece, they called the creation of the universe chaos and said it brought the sun known as Helios and darkness known as Erebus. With the sun came day, sky, mountains, earth, and sea, and with darkness came night, sleep, dreams, aging, and death. They all claim this is an unseen world which is beyond the delta brainwave state. This unseen world may have become under surveillance in the advancement of technology. Before we understand this, we must understand visible light further. Visible light was discovered in the 17th century by Isaac Newton. He discovered that by using a prism, white light can be dissembled into the colors of the spectrum. He decided to call the colors a spectrum, which is a Latin word for apparition. Shortly after discovering this in 1800, a man by the name of Sir William Frederick Herschel discovered infrared. He came across infrared after investigating the temperature of each color the spectrum emitted. After testing each color, he had found that beyond red, which is the last color on the spectrum, an intense amount of heat was being released. This led to him discovering infrared. It's a wavelength just greater than red's wavelength. These wavelengths are out of our sight, but since the invention of infrared cameras, we've been able to see what's beyond our vision. These orbs are beyond the visible wavelength, making them invisible to the naked eye. However, they surround us right now. They have been captured on infrared camera many times. NASA is a most notable cause, but the Mexican military also caught them on camera. Many people on YouTube also caught these orbs on camera. They have been captured hundreds, if not thousands of times. Dr. Klaus Hinneman, a former NASA employee, wrote a book called The Orb Project. In the book, he reported that under controlled conditions, using multiple cameras, it appeared that the orb showed some type of intelligence when asked to appear on camera by the photographer. When the Mexican military caught them on camera on March 5, 2004, the pilots claimed they felt as if the orbs knew they were under surveillance. A man who captured these orbs on camera asked them to put on a show in which they replied to,
"Come on, give us a show, little critters." Wow.
As the orbs resonate on a wavelength beyond visible light, it means they can see us, but we can't see them. So what are they? Trevor James Constable, a former Marine, was one of the first people to photograph these orbs. After reading several books about esoteric energy and doing research of his own, he decided to investigate, so set up ultraviolet and infrared cameras. He caught the same orbs on tape, translucent with a hole in the center. After reviewing his pictures and extending in further research, Trevor had come to a conclusion. He believes that orbs are an amobia-like form of life which exist on Earth and in the universe beyond our sight. He also claimed when provoked, they become predatory. To understand these orbs on a deeper level, we must understand time on a deeper level. Time is made up of visible light hours plus darkness. In simpler terms, if you were to count from sunrise to sunset, although these times will vary, when combined with darkness, it will always total to 24 hours. This is known as a day and night cycle. Astronauts' circadian rhythm changes slightly while in space as they are out of the orbit of the Earth, causing them to see different amounts of visible light. Day and night cycles are the measurement of the time it takes for the Earth to rotate around the Sun, bringing us visible light. These are the two worlds, the light and dark, the yin and yang. Almost all ancient societies call the darkness the underworld. Much like how shadows stay with us in visible light, consciousness stays within the universe in darkness. During the 1950s, Robert Monroe worked on experiments which studied how people learn while they sleep. While working on these experiments, he came across one problem: how to make the test subjects fall asleep. He figured you can't simply tell them to fall asleep, and he refused to give them conscious altering drugs as it would defeat the purpose. He and his team had discovered how sound frequencies can alter consciousness, causing us to feel alert, asleep, and go out of body into expanded areas of consciousness. For example, a certain combination of frequencies listened to through headphones will phase us into different states of consciousness. There are many ways these frequencies can be administered. One is called binaural beats. This is where two different frequencies are played in each ear. Robert Monroe said that at the age of 40, he started to feel a strange vibration in his body. After visiting the doctors several times, he got the all clear. One day, as he was trying to fall asleep, he felt the vibration, so he laid in his bed to relax and ease the vibration. He said during this time, as he was going to sleep, he thought he was dreaming as he could see a fountain next to him on his bedroom ceiling. However, he quickly realized it was the chandelier on the ceiling. He then noticed himself lying in bed and realized he was having an out-of-body experience. He once again went to the doctor, but they couldn't find anything wrong with him. The out-of-body experiences became so frequent that he managed to control them and explore. He explored the out-of-body world up until he died at the age of 79. The out-of-body world is also known as the underworld and the astral plane. Monroe was so fascinated by the out-of-body world, he chose to redirect his entire study on it, which led to him and his team developing Hemisync. Hemisync is short for hemispheric synchronization. This is also known as brainwave synchronization. Monroe indicated that this technique synchronizes the two hemispheres of one's brain, thereby creating a frequency-following response. This causes us to go into altered states of consciousness. This is known as phasing. Before we understand phasing, we must understand consciousness further. You can compare the brain to a radio. The radio picks up radio waves by its antenna. Within these waves are many different stations of information. The radio decodes this information using the circuits inside it. It then gives us sound as an output. When the radio is broken, the stations do not disappear as they are still in the source form of radio waves. By using the radio, you can phase into different frequencies to find different stations. Our brain is a receiver of consciousness, and some believe the antenna is the pineal gland. While awake, we are focused in the five-sense reality. This is known as focus level 1. We too can phase in and out of different states of consciousness. We can do this many ways, such as by using binaural beats, hemisync, conscious altering drugs, meditation, and sensory deprivation. Monroe broke these phases into focus points. These focus points can be broken up into categories which go beyond our physical death. 1 to 22 is waking and dreaming, while 23 to 26 is death and religious beliefs. 27 to 49 are spirits, interdimensional beings, and the higher self. Focus level 1 is what you're in right now. This is a beta brainwave state in which we are in alert and problem-solving mode of consciousness. As we drift off into sleep, we enter focus level 10. This is where the body becomes asleep, but the mind remains awake. During this time, mystical experiences can happen, such as sleep paralysis. At focus level 12, we are in a state of expanded awareness. This is where the body remains fully relaxed and asleep, while the mind is awake. At this level, we can receive information from the higher self. This is known as the gateway. During this time, 80% of sensory input is blocked by the brain. Focus 13 to 14 are known as null zones. Not much activity goes on here. At focus level 15, the brain allows barely any sensory input. At this level, we can receive what Robert Monroe calls rotes of information from the higher self. Focus level 16 to 20 are energy levels you pass through to make it to focus 21. Focus 21 is deep sleep. This is what we enter during the production of delta waves. This is on the very edge of the space-time continuum. If you manage to stay awake during this process, such as by methods like sensory deprivation, you can advance into higher focus points. At focus level 22, we enter REM sleep and begin to dream. Here, we are on the border of the space-time continuum. Focus level 22 is categorized by the human dream realities. This is also the level of lucid dreaming. This is caused by full awareness and knowledge that you can control the dream reality you are producing. At focus level 22, Monroe claimed we dream and is also the place we go under the influence of drugs and alcohol. This is the level of consciousness ancient Greeks knew as hypnos. He claimed during this focus level we are on the border between time, space, and non-physical states of being. Albert Hofmann, the discoverer of LSD, also spoke about this level of consciousness, claiming, "The importance of psychedelics lies in their capacity to shift the wavelength setting of the receiver self and thereby to evoke alterations in reality consciousness." Focus level 22 is also the level of consciousness people go to when they are in a coma. As their mind remains asleep, they are unable to phase back to focus level 1. This is where the comatose patient's consciousness begins to move into the 4th dimension. Here, their thoughts will manifest as if they were a reality. Focus level 23 is the level a soul will go to immediately after death. This is known as a lower astral level. In ancient Greece, they knew this as the door of the underworld. Once entered, a human would lose several physical and emotional attachments to their time spent in the 3rd dimension. These were categorized into 3 sections: emotions and feelings, physical and emotional. Under emotion and feelings were grief, anxiety, agony, and fear. Under physical came old age, hunger, masturbation and sex, sleep, disease, and death. The 3rd was physical and emotional. Under this came war, vengeance, strife, and discord. Monroe said this was a place where thought became action. This level is said to be inhabited by individuals who have recently left Earth but have not realized their transition. This contains people who have committed suicide, sudden death, disasters, and souls who do not believe there is life after death. After entering the door to the underworld, ancient Greeks claimed you are guided by an entity called Charon. Charon will sail you over a river onto a different plane. Here you can take 2 routes: the belief system territories and the ticket to the Isle of the Blessed. The belief system territory has been described as taking a gold coin for entry, while the ticket for the Isle of the Blessed is a golden boat. Each route will come with a life review. However, both routes will differ. If you choose to go down the belief system territory path, you will see your life review. This is a flashback of your life which shows how your choices affected others. In ancient Egypt, this was known as the Judgment Hall of Osiris and also the Weighing of the Heart. The ancient Sumerians knew this as the 7 Judges of Hell. This is where the 7 deadly sins originated. In ancient Greece, there were also 7 deadly sins. They were known as deceit, distress, strife, blame, retribution, doom, and affection. They decided whether you get into asylum known as heaven or to Taurus known as hell or the abyss. These are known as the belief system territories, also known as focus level 24 to 26. In ancient Greece, they split these into several focus points. To Taurus, the Asphodo Medals, Mourning Fields, and Asylum. To Taurus is a plane of consciousness the Greeks described as complete darkness and nothing else. They claimed souls were sent here after judgment of their sins from the entrance of the underworld after taking the belief route. They claimed this judgment is in control of the spirit. They claimed the laws that govern the underworld never provide a true justice to the souls of the dead, and the dead do not receive rewards for following them or punishment for wicked actions. The Asphodo Meadows is a place where souls went who didn't commit much sins but also didn't achieve any greatness or recognition. Mourning Fields is a place reserved for souls who wasted their life on unrequited love. These are described as focus levels 24 to 25. Here, souls may not realize one's total responsibility for what one is literally creating. These levels are populated by souls who were stuck in aberrant behavioral patterns which prevented them from realizing crucial aspects of the nature of reality in order to move on. These planes of consciousness could also describe mental states created by human experiences and belief systems. The 7 deadly sins are a human construct. to keep us restrained in certain focus points beyond our death. Greeks described asylum as being what is known as heaven. This is reserved for demigods and heroes. People who prove their worth during life also get a place. This is also known as Focus 26. Robert Monroe described it as a religional terminus. This is a place where spirits from Earth of every religious background congregate until they realize there is more beyond where they are. Entities live here which appear to ex-humans as Jesus and other religious figures demanding to be worshipped. In Gnosticism, this was the level of the demiurge, a false god who ruled over mankind, making them become spiritually stagnant, meaning they couldn't progress in the afterlife. Gnostics claimed the Pope was the main force behind this ruling, claiming a tactic was to make the population believe the only way to the divine was through their system. After this comes Focus Level 27. This was known in ancient Greece as the Isle of the Blessed. It is also known as Summerland. This is a level souls return to who are not burdened by heavy belief systems and who have managed to leave their physical existence behind. It can also be visited by out-of-body experiences. During experiments, Robert Monroe and his team made over 1,300 individual trips to the Isle of the Blessed. He called this the Lifeline Program. While out of body, he claims he and his team helped escort lost souls from the entrance of the underworld to the Isle of the Blessed. Monroe described Focus Level 27 as the edge of human thought capacity and a place for rest and recovery from death before souls continue to higher focus points. In ancient Greece, they described the Isle of the Blessed as a place souls can go to reincarnate at the risk of losing their memory. It has been described in many cultures as a park where we can decide to reincarnate or continue as our final incarnation. Ancient Greeks also claimed souls who chose the belief territories route can only be granted access to the Isle of the Blessed if their 3 previous incarnations achieved asylum while under the constraint of belief. They can choose to stay focused in asylum or be taken to the Isle of the Blessed to reincarnate as their final incarnation to spread the message about the Isle. Ones who learn knowledge of the Isle from final incarnations become advanced incarnations. I got looking into this subject because I had an out-of-body experience when I was a teenager, and although they were short-lived and not entertaining, they fascinated me enough to look into the subject. Once we come back as final incarnations, we stop reincarnating as we have had enough information to advance spiritually and be satisfied for eternity in the underworld. By me creating this video and you watching it, you are now considered an advanced incarnation. However, if you've made it this far, stay until the end as you will learn further secrets about the nature of reality. Babies who are stillborn are automatically transported to the Isle of the Blessed as they have no prior belief system. The Monroe Institute have a program known as Exploration 27. By using HemiSync, your consciousness is phased to Focus Level 27, allowing you to gain insightful information from there. Levels beyond this go into the realm of the higher self and universal consciousness communication. So what we learn from this is 5% of our conscious waking visual reality is provided by visible light. Visible light affects our brainwave states, and only 5% of the universe is visible to us. Beyond the delta brainwave state, we go out of body and return to spirit. This is known as the realm of darkness and also known as dark energy. Visible matter and dark matter are all tangible objects man-made and not man-made in the universe. Matter holds all creation on a molecular and atomic level. This includes past, present and future. Anything can be created with the Earth's resources, you just need to make the blueprints first. Nikola Tesla once said, if you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequencies and vibration. So you could say we're energy locked into the focus of frequencies and vibration. As visible light, dark matter and dark energy, also known as the universe, totals to 100%, under the law of relativity, we coexist in the visible world and the underworld of the higher self at the same time. We are simply in different focus points. As the realm of darkness goes beyond the bounds of space and time, all events have already occurred. This is why some people refer to God as the all-knowing. The law of relativity makes it possible for an event to occur and be observed at the same time, making this correct. This has also been proven through out-of-body experiences and the practice of astral projection. This could explain the phenomenon known as deja vu and would also explain why Albert Einstein theorized that going faster than the speed of light would cause us to time travel. The Eleusinian mysteries are the most famous of the secret religious rites of ancient Greece. One of them reads, "The defilements of a material nature creates constant elevations to realities of intellectual spiritual vision." This means once you realize our waking reality is simply visible light, you can determine your own future. If the higher self is of all-knowing, then so are you. If you analyze the information the universe is giving you, you can make choices in response to the information being given. Using techniques which prey on human emotion can decide the outcome of these choices. This is known as manipulation. A less serious manipulation technique is a flirting technique known as push-pull. This manipulates the mind into liking someone by evoking emotion and humor. For example, a man approaches a woman and teases her using language which evokes emotion. He then compliments her using humor, all while under a flirtatious frame and context. The build-up of the tease creates strong emotions which are then eased by the humor. This is why it's called push-pull. Under a flirtatious frame, the woman will be thinking of sex while being teased emotionally. If done correctly, and the pair's humor corresponds, and if they are attracted to each other, then they will end up together. The Hermetic Corpus are a series of sacred texts dating back to 2nd and 3rd century AD. They are Egyptian and Greek wisdom texts. When translated, they explain 7 Hermetic principles. The first is the principle of mentalism, which claims all is mind, the universe is mental. Many celebrities know of this information. In Cypress Hill's song Insane in the Membrane, artist B Real says, "Pilot off this ship, if I get with the ultraviolet dream, hide from the red light beam, now do you believe in the unseen?" Kanye West released a song titled Ultralight Beam, in which he says, "We on an ultralight beam, this is a God dream." If ancient civilizations knew the true nature about the universe and reality, why don't we know about it now on a larger scale? This is where it gets creepy.
I think that if you take one of the O's out of good, it's God. If you add a D to evil, it's the devil. I think some cool motherfuckers sat down a long time ago and said, let's figure out a way that we can control motherfuckers. And that's what they came up with, is the Bible.
Knowledge of the dynamics and layout of these sections of the underworld is believed to be some of the most guarded information on the planet, and is believed to be held in places such as the Vatican secret archives. In order to understand how religion is controlling this secret, we must understand religion on a deeper level. All ancient civilizations had religion, however, their religions were very different to ours. Nowadays, people worship a holy figure or deity. In ancient times, they worshipped the planets and called them gods. They also named the planets. This is known as anthropomorphizing and is an act of humanizing an object. These were what the ancient Greeks called the planets, and here's what the ancient Sumerians called the planets. All ancient civilizations name their planets as they are trying to tell a story of astronomy. Firstly, let's take a look at a cycle the sun makes annually. As we go into the winter, the sun moves south continuously. However, on December 22nd, it goes to the lowest point in the sky. Here, the sun stops moving south for 3 days. During these 3 days, the sun is located in the Southern Cross constellation. On December 24th, the brightest star in the sky, known as Sirius, aligns with the 3 brightest stars in Orion's belt. Since ancient times, these stars have been called the 3 kings. The stars line up with the point of sunrise on December 25th. If you follow the 3 kings, you'll be directed to sunrise. On December 25th, the sun resides in the Virgo constellation. In Latin, Virgo means virgin. The constellation is also known as Virgo the Virgin. A symbol for this constellation is an M. On December 25th, the sun moves 1 degree, but this time north. Therefore, symbolically, the sun died on the cross, remained dead for 3 days, then was resurrected. Does this sound familiar? If we take a look at several holy figures, they all follow the same story. Born on December 25th to a virgin whose name begins with M, their birth announced by a star in the east which 3 kings followed. They had 12 disciples, walked on water, and healed people. They were also crucified, died for 3 days, then resurrected. This cycle is attached to 40 plus holy figures from around the world. This is because they are all representations of the sun. As I said earlier, ancient civilizations humanized the planets and stars. The 12 disciples represent the 12 constellations. When we say, "Oh my God," we are thanking the universe for all its creation, including the sun. When we thank Jesus, we are thanking the sun for giving us the visual reality we can create in. Jesus, known as the Son of God, is a representation of our sun. Ancient Egyptians worshipped the sun and referred to it as the giver of life. Now we know that ancient civilizations and from more pious planets, holy texts paint a different picture. The first copy of a story to be written this way was known as the Enuma Elish. It's from ancient Babylon, which is now known as Iraq. It was written around 500 to 600 BC and is the first ever creation story. The Christian Genesis almost mirrors the Enuma Elish. This is because they are trying to tell the same story. Many other holy creation tales are copies of the Enuma Elish. Ancient Sumerian tablets were also found. When translated, it is found that the Old Testament is a rewrite of these tablets. Once translated, the story tells us how the world and planets were created. It goes like this. In the beginning, there was only darkness. Earth and the heavens had not yet come into existence. Apsu, a planetary body of fresh water, mixed with a planetary body of salt water called Tiamat. Their waters mingled, bringing forth Venus and Mars. After this, Saturn and Jupiter had formed. After this, Uranus formed. This planet was known as Heaven. The ancient Greeks called it Uranus, which translates to heaven. Neptune also formed. After this, a cosmic war began. The Greeks called this the War of the Titans. Planets were hit by asteroids. During this time, a planet known as Tiamat drew its moon into their orbit. This was known as Kingu and it had a total of 11. A planet known to the Sumerians as Nibiru, also known as Planet X and the Destroyer, was heading towards the solar system, entering its orbit. This crashed into Tiamat and its 11 moons. Nibiru then left our solar system only to return and to crash into Tiamat again. The story claims Tiamat was split into 2. One half was placed between Venus and Mars, creating the Earth, while the other half was destroyed, creating a stone blanket. This is now known as the asteroid belt. Nibiru then left orbit and Earth began its cooling stage. Ancient Greeks wrote of a golden age. During this age, peace and harmony prevailed. People did not have to work to feed themselves, for the earth provided food in abundance. They claimed during this time humans reigned under the rule of Kronos. Kronos was a representation of Saturn. During the Golden Age, our main source of light was Saturn. Many other ancient civilizations spoke of Saturn being the old sun. It's known as the old sun and the dark sun. In the Popol Vuh, also known as the Mayan Bible, it reads, "Like a man was the sun when it showed itself. It showed itself when it was born and stayed fixed in the sky. It was certainly not the sun we know today." Saturn was also known as the motionless and superior sun. Many people have investigated this and they have all come to the same conclusion. During the Golden Age, a planetary alignment happened which caused Saturn, Venus and Mars to align, forming a giant source of visible light in the sky. Ancient civilizations depicted this in many different art forms. As Saturn provided visible light, people on Earth started to worship it. Ancient texts claim Saturn fell to the opposite end of the world's axis, causing a catastrophic event on the Earth. People continued to worship Saturn long after its reign. This is where Satanism comes from. The goat in Satanism is a representation of Capricorn, the constellation associated with Saturn today. They worship Saturn much like why Christians worship the sun, because it provided them with light. They continue to worship Saturn today symbolically for being as free as those of the Golden Age. An ancient Roman festival known as Saturnalia took place between the 17th of December until the 23rd of December. During this time, they would feast on the street and exchange gifts. 2 days later, what we now know as Christmas would begin, celebrating the rise of the new sun. Ancient cultures would have festivals almost every day in order to honor different planets. In archaic terms, the city of Rome was originally called Saturnia, or the City of Saturn. During its prayer and ritual, it's believed the Roman Catholic Church still worships Saturn, and it's believed this is where the religion stemmed from. Oddly enough, the word Vatican comes from Latin. It is split into two words. Vatis meaning prophetic or diviner, and can meaning serpent or snake. When translated, Vatican City means the place of the prophetic and worshipped serpent. The Vatican Secret Archives hold over 52 miles of ancient documents and texts which may reveal the extent of the true nature of reality. They hold documents such as Mayan codices which come from the pre-Columbian Mayan civilization. They also hold Jerusalem temple artifacts stolen in 70 AD by the Romans.
Now, ladies, where exactly are we going? Exactly.
Where the rainbow ends.
Where the rainbow ends.
Don't you want to go where the rainbow ends?
Well, now that depends where that is.
Well, let's find out.
The Illuminati, which means the light bearers, and the illuminated ones, are people claiming to possess special enlightenment or knowledge of something. These people are ones who know the information I told you earlier. They formed a secret society in 1776 by Freemasons. Freemasons refer to their deity as the Great Architect of the Universe. The Illuminati's goals were to oppose superstition and religious influence over public life and abuses of state power. The idea was to control the public with the use of manipulation without dominating them, therefore offering them small freedoms. With the encouragement of the Roman Catholic Church, the Illuminati were outlawed in 1784. In the several years following, the group was vilified by conservative and religious critics who claimed that they continued underground and were responsible for the French Revolution. The French Revolution started after what was known as the Age of Enlightenment. This occurred from 1715 to 1789. The French Revolution brought an end to the age as a revolution was manufactured by the enlightened to control the population. This is where the secondary control system came into place, which is now known as the Illuminati. After the revolution, they started to rule the world. Since then, we've been under two control systems which hide the true nature of reality. Nowadays, the Illuminati are globalists who want to start a new world order.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
From the recent US election, it has come to light that the US media is owned by the globalists.
And the media, look at all those people back there. Scavengers, they're like
A
scavengers.
little fact is that 90% of the American media is owned by 6 megacorporations. As we advance in technology, information can be spread worldwide at a rapid rate thanks to television and the internet. We now live in the information war era, but before we get into this, we must go back into ancient Babylon and another world mystery: blood. The Illuminati are believed to be made up of 13 bloodlines which rule the world. To understand this, we must understand blood and the mystery it holds. Humans have 2 different blood types, Rh positive and Rh negative. Roughly, about 92% of the population have Rh positive, while about 8% has Rh negative. The Rh factor is a protein found in the human blood that is directly linked to the rhesus monkey. Therefore, the Rh positive blood type evolved from monkeys. O negative, belonging to the Rh negative group, is the rarest blood in the world. People with this blood type cannot accept transfusions from any other blood types. However, O negative blood can be used in transfusions to heal people of any blood type. The Rh negative blood has come from an unknown source, and therefore it has been given the nickname alien blood as it is so rare. When an Rh positive male has a baby with a Rh positive female, there is a high chance later offspring will not survive. This is because the female's body attacks and destroys the positive blood. Believe it or not, this actually happened to me. The official term for it is called fetal hydrops. Because of it, I was born prematurely and placed in the ICU. Luckily, I survived, but my mum can no longer have any more children because of it. The ancient Sumerians talked about an intervention in human genetics by a force called the Anunnaki. This translates to those who from heaven to earth came. In the Bible, they're explained as having children with the daughters of men. The Bible claimed these were called the Nephilim and were fallen angels. In the Chitahuru ancient Zulu tribe, they spoke of this interbreeding and claimed the gods told them to never represent them in their actual form. These beings spoke of were known by many different cultures. In Gnostic writings, they were described as being unformed babies with unmoving eyes. In Islam, they were described as luminous fire. As the translation remains unclear and only states that this bloodline came from the heavens, this could mean it came from the darkness or from another planet. People believe through methods like tantric sex, evil bloodlines can form. But who knows, the bloodline has to come from somewhere and science can't explain it. In the ancient Mayan civilization, they had something known as the vision serpent. This was a method they would use to get direct access to the underworld. They would enter a temple and place ceremonial papers on the floor. They would then cut themselves and drip the blood onto the papers. When the blood had dried, they would burn the papers, claiming within the smoke a vision serpent appeared. They claimed this was a snake who would open its mouth, and out of its mouth would appear ancestors and gods from the underworld. The vision serpent imagery can be seen all over the world, including in ancient depictions and even company logos. Former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi had a giant depiction of this on his lawn. The vision serpent and serpent remains an outstanding theme when it comes to this bloodline and the underworld. All cultures from around the world speak of this serpent in relation to a world tree, claiming it is on the center axis atop the world tree. The world tree is a symbol representing a tree which holds the heavens, thereby connecting the heavens to the terrestrial world and through its roots, the underworld. It's believed the Illuminati control this bloodline for arranged marriages such as royal marriages. I have no idea how I'm connected to the bloodline. I know I'm German, Jewish and Romani Gypsy, but I've never looked into my family tree, so who knows which bloodline I'm connected to. Ancient Babylonians called this bloodline poison. It's also known as royal or blue blood. Babylonians claim the offspring became demigods and pharaohs. On Tupac's album, The 7 Day Theory, The Donk Illuminati, on a song titled Blasphemy, he says, "Babylon beware, coming for the Pharaoh's kids, retaliation making legends of the shit we did." The Pharaohs ruled over ancient civilizations using a control system known as the Pyramid of Power. This control system is still in use today. Believe it or not, the Bush's bloodline can be traced back to ancient Babylon. Not one, but two members of this family have manipulated information by the use of media to start two wars. The first was George H.W. Bush in order to start the Gulf War between the US and Iraq. The US had Kuwait as its allies. George H.W. Bush faked a press conference in which a 15-year-old Kuwaiti girl who could not be identified claimed this.
While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
I myself buried 14 newborn babies that had been taken from their incubators.
And they had kids in incubators, and they were thrown out of the incubators so that Kuwait could be systematically dismantled.
Before this, the American public were 50-50 on going to war with Iraq, but after this, they agreed on war, starting the invasion known as Operation Desert Storm. It was found out that the girl who made the speech was a Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter. She was given scripted lines and coached by American PR firm Hill & Knowlton. It was funded by a $10 million joint US and Kuwaiti campaign to start war. There was never any incubator baby deaths, and many civilians, including men, women and children, died due to the war, as well as many soldiers from both sides. The second time the family lied was during 9/11 under George W. Bush. On 9/11, 3 buildings fell, the Twin Towers and World Trade Center 7, also known as the Solomon Building. Just before the World Trade Center 7 had dropped, a BBC News anchor was describing the collapse of the World Trade Center 7 as it stood in sight behind her. This means a pre-planned script was given out to news stations which told them what to say. In the 1950s, this was a regular occurrence. The CIA would write scripts for the media under Operation Mockingbird. Events like these are known as false flags and problem reaction solution. This is because they manufacture a false problem such as incubator babies. They then get a reaction from the public and then make a solution by going to war. War is only good for one thing: money. Here is a side of the war the media won't show. As I said earlier, we're now in the information war era. Luckily, there is alternate media. The biggest source of alternate media which goes up against the globalists and Illuminati is funnily enough known as InfoWars. It is run by Alex Jones, who filmed the bizarre rituals the Illuminati do at Bohemian Grove.
Which hither ye have brought from regions where I reign. Ye fools and priests, I spit upon your fire.
Midsummer sets us free.
Some speculate that they feed these entities at ceremonies such as what takes place at Bohemian Grove. People believe they become possessed and receive information from the underworld. During rituals and times of panic, these orbs can be seen on camera. While filming for a video back in May, I captured one on camera. I actually filmed this scene, no joke, about 7 or 8 times because I wasn't pleased with it, so it's quite scary that I caught it in the final take. During a fight between 2 men, these orbs can be seen appearing in the bottom corner. The globalist-owned media now report Alex Jones as fake news and have tried to remove him along with many other sites from the internet. They now claim all alternative media are fake news, although it isn't. The internet is slowly becoming divided and more politically correct, causing many YouTubers and celebrities to talk out. The mainstream media once again are being manipulated by the globalists in order to try and create war with Russia, claiming Russia had an interference with the election. However, Georgia's Secretary of State revealed that in Georgia State, their voting system networks came under 10 cyber attacks carried out by the Department of Homeland Security. These networks carried the state's polling results. It's believed it came from within, as insiders feared that Hillary would instantly start World War III with Russia. According to the equinox, we're in the age of Pisces. Ages come every 2,150 years and are meant to represent changes in society. We're currently in the Iron Age. Ancient Greeks wrote of this age and claimed, "At the height of this age, humans no longer feel shame or indignation at wrongdoing. During this age, humans live in an existence of toil and misery. Children dishonor their parents and men use lies to be thought good. There will be no help against evil. The next age will come by 2150. This is the age of Aquarius. According to ancient Greeks, the Golden Age will return. Our age is also known as the Age of Christ consciousness, or being conscious of the realities we live in. If we were to know this information on a worldwide scale, we could translate ancient texts such as the Enuma Elish and the Egyptian Book of the Dead to get the full answer behind the secret of reality. Using these texts, we could also find the secret behind the Rh negative bloodline. Once we done this, we could rewrite the story in current languages and release the secret worldwide, which would theoretically be known as the second coming, as everyone would be in Christ consciousness. We could transition back into the golden age, also known as paradise and heaven on earth. However, because of duality, this may never become possible. Knowing this information is known as being woke or enlightened. Now you know this information, remember, you're in control of your own destiny. Please don't use manipulation. Although you can control your own destiny, is it really destiny or fate? Each choice will lead you down a different path. All choices have already been made, it's just a matter of time. You can choose to be good or bad on this earth, but in eternity, you must live with yourself forever. So learn to love yourself and love others. If all this is correct, and there is life after death,